Kia's a very different kind of Kia Sorento. It can run most of its suburban life on electric power, manage a 3-figure fuel return, and deliver a CO2 reading that'll decimate the size of your company car taxation bill. Yet, it'll seat 7 people, take you to a mountainside weekend country cottage and cruise in luxury. There's a price to pay for all this capability, of course, but it's undeniably impressive.
On the move, this PHEV plug-in model's 90 horsepower electric motor does a reasonable job of powering the car in battery motion mode, and when the 13.8 kilowatt hour battery pack runs out after about 35 miles and the 1.6 litre TGDI turbo engine cuts in, the combined power output, 261 brake horsepower, is more than enough for most safe overtakes or for pressing on when you're late for the school pickup. 62 miles an hour occupies 8.4 seconds en route to 119 mph. You certainly wouldn't want to go any faster than that in a car like this. You might wish for a bit more pulling power through the 6 speeds of the drivetrain's automatic gearbox, though. There's only 350 newton meters of it, which isn't a great deal to propel along a 2.1 ton 7-seat family SUV. That is why towing capacity is limited to 1,500 kilos. This car still retains a reasonable degree of off-piste capability, though. Its standard 4-wheel drive system incorporates 3 bespoke terrain drive modes, which you can select from this centre console dial: snow, mud and sand. But there's not really enough ride height to venture anywhere too gnarly with this Kia, so the terrain side of the drive mode dial will probably remain largely unused. More everyday useful settings come when you push the same dial and it clicks you into the 3 separate tarmac drive modes, which alter steering feel, throttle response and gear change timings. Most of the time you'll want to leave this car in the smart setting, which is basically an auto mode that sorts everything out for you. There's also an eco mode and a sport setting for when you want to push on, although you won't want to do that terribly often in this kind of high-sided SUV. Previous generations of the Sorento have been a little anonymous and forgettable, but this 4th generation design is out to rectify that. There are no outward giveaways as to this model's plug-in status, unless you happen to notice the badging or the extra filler flap. In profile, you get a sense of the continuing growth that's characterised the Sorento model line throughout its various generations. This Mark IV design is 5mm taller and it gains another 10mm of length, taking the parking space size you'll need to well over 4.8 metres, which, to give you some class perspective, actually puts it closer to a full-fat, large-segment Land Rover Discovery rather than the mid-sized Discovery Sport model that it's been priced against. Perhaps most distinctive, though, is the tailgate treatment, borrowed from Kia's even larger US market Telluride SUV, a model the UK doesn't see. Perhaps that explains a touch of Ford Mustang in the styling of these LED tail lamps. The cabin quality on show here is certainly a big step forward from anything we've ever seen from Kia before. You still probably wouldn't think you were in a premium brand model, but the dashboard's shelf-like design has some interesting flourishes, like the unusual shaping of these central vents here. And we think that most customers will really like the way that the high-set driving position offers you such a commanding view of the road ahead of you. Get comfortable behind the leather-stitched 3-spoke wheel here, and one of the first things that you're going to notice is that the instrument Binnacle, this now features a single 12.3-inch screen with 2 virtual dials and the customizable information section in the middle. Anything this display can't tell you will probably be covered off instead by the infotainment monitor, and that flows out of the instrument Binnacle to top this centre stack here. This would be 8 inches in size with base 2-spec trim as here, but with the 2 more opulent trim levels, you're favoured instead with a preferable 10.25-inch touchscreen display. You also get supportive seats and the wide range of cabin stowage cubbies that you'd want in a family SUV. Right, time to take a seat in the second row, space in which ought to be aided by this 4th generation model's 35mm increase in wheelbase length. As usual in a 7-seat SUV, the bench slides back and forth and the backrest reclines, and that allows second row folk to prioritise either their legroom or that of those behind. Right, time to take a look in the third row. That relatively high floor height means that, as with most cars in this class, you sit rather with your knees up towards the level of your stomach. But otherwise, it really is reasonably comfortable back here by class standards anyway, although adults won't want to be confined here for too long, obviously. Right, let's finish with a look in the boot. It's only electrically powered if you avoid the base 2 level of trim we have here. The hatch opens to a wide, square-shaped load bay with a nice flat entry floor. It's not massively spacious, of course, with the third seating row up like this, but the 179-litre capacity provided in this format is enough for a couple of carry-on suitcases, and it embarrasses the 115-litre space that you'd have with a similarly configured Land Rover Discovery Sport. Much of the time, you're going to want to tug on the pull straps on the backs of these third-row chairs and fold them into the floor. That frees up 604 litres of space in this PHEV model. If you need more room, the second row seating can be folded from the boot area by these right-hand cargo sidewall buttons, although reinstating those chairs has to be done manually from the side doors in the usual way. Anyway, once everything's nice and flat, you get up to 1,988 litres of space with this plug-in hybrid. There's no doubt that this Sorento PHEV is a great all-rounder. It can be an MPV, a luxury cruiser, a light off-roader or an urban family EV. The drawback, of course, is the sticker price, but the right kind of finance deal might ease that issue a little for you. Before you commit to it, though, you'll have to have been convinced that the plug-in engine is the right kind of power source for you. If you know you'll find it awkward to regularly plug in, or if you just can't be bothered to, then the much cheaper HEV self-charging hybrid version is a better bet. Or you could also save money up front by choosing the conventional diesel variant. The plug-in model is also a poor choice if you'll regularly be towing heavy loads. If none of this has discouraged you from the prospect of Sorento PHEV ownership, then there's much to like here. Pretty much everything, in fact, that you could want from an all-purpose family car, except a premium badge. And a typical Sorento customer won't worry too much about that. Kia talks about the power to surprise with its products. And this one might just do that.